Think about the last time you called someone. Maybe it was your daughter, maybe an old friend, maybe your brother, who lives 2 states away, and who you haven't seen in almost a year. You called, the phone rang, and then voicemail. You left a message, warm, cheerful, careful not to sound needy. And then you waited. An hour passed, then a day, then 3 days. Nothing. So you called again, because that is who you are. You reach out, you check in, you care, but somewhere in the silence between your calls, a question begins to form. A question you are almost afraid to ask yourself. Why is it always me? Why am I always the one who calls first? Why am I always the one reaching out? Why do I feel, more and more, like I am knocking on a door that will never open? If that question has been living quietly inside you, this video is for you, because the Buddha had something to say about this. Something gentle, something honest, something that may change the way you see your phone for the rest of your life. You are not imagining it, and you are not being too sensitive. There is a pattern in your life that is real, a pattern where you give, and give, and give, and on the other end, almost nothing comes back. This is one of the quietest forms of pain that people over 60 carry. Not dramatic, not loud, no argument, no falling out, just the slow realization that the relationship is held together entirely by you. If you stopped calling, the silence would be permanent. If you stopped texting, there would be nothing. You have become the only heartbeat in a relationship that was supposed to have two. And somehow, society has told you this is normal, that people are busy, that everyone has their own life, that you shouldn't take it personally. But here is what the Buddha understood, that society does not say, your time at this stage of life is not unlimited. Every call you make that is never returned is a piece of your precious time given to someone who has quietly decided you are not worth their effort. And the Buddha would ask you, why are you the one who keeps deciding otherwise? In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches, Atanameva patamam patirupe nivsaye. First, establish yourself in what is proper. Then, you may guide others. Before you can love well, you must first love yourself well enough to know what you deserve. This is not selfishness. This is wisdom. The Buddha never taught us to be doormats. In the name of compassion, he taught metta, loving kindness. But metta begins with yourself. You cannot offer true kindness to others from an empty vessel. And every unanswered call, every ignored text, every effort that disappears into silence, it empties you a little more each time. Today, we look at 5 signs that it is time. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with wisdom and self-respect, to stop being the only one who calls. Sign number 1. They always have time for everyone else, just never for you. You call, they don't answer, but 2 days later, you hear they spent the weekend with friends, at a party, on a trip. They had time. They simply did not choose to spend it with you. Let that land for a moment. It is not that they are too busy. Busy people return calls. Busy people send a text that says, sorry, I missed you. Can we talk Thursday? Busy is not the same as unavailable. Busy is a schedule problem. Unavailable is a priority problem. And you are not on their list of priorities. The Buddha taught about Chanda, intention and genuine desire. When someone truly wishes to be in your life, they find the time, they create the space. They make it happen. The absence of Chanda is not an accident. It is information, not information to punish them with, not information to hold against them, but information to act on wisely. Your peace deserves to be protected from people who do not choose you. Sign number 2. When they do call, it is always because they need something. You know this pattern. The phone has been silent for weeks, and then it rings, and your heart lifts for just a moment. They called. They thought of me. But within 2 minutes, you understand why they called. They need a favor. They need advice. They need money. They need you to listen to a problem that has nothing to do with asking how you are. And when the need is met, the call ends, and the silence returns. This is what the Buddha called upadana, clinging attachment, but not to you, to what you can provide. They are not attached to your presence. They are attached to your usefulness. There is a difference between someone who calls you because you are you, and someone who calls you because of what you can do for them. One makes you feel seen. The other, after a while, makes you feel used. You deserve to be called, not because of what you can give, but simply because you exist in someone's world, and they are glad that you do. Sign number 3. They never ask how you are. And if they do, they don't listen to the answer. You have been through things, real things, a health scare, a loss, a difficult season, the simple ache of being older, in a world that moves too fast for you now. And when you speak, when you try to share what is real for you, the conversation shifts back to them, or it ends, or worse, they say the words, "How are you?" But they are already looking at the exit, before you can answer. In the Pali Canon, the Buddha describes a Kalyanamitra, an admirable friend, as someone who listens, not politely, not while waiting for their turn to speak, but truly listens, with the ears and with the heart. A one-sided conversation is not a relationship. It is a performance. You perform the role of the one who cares. They perform the role of the one who is cared for, and you are exhausted from being the only actor. Who actually means it? Sign number 4. Your birthday passes, your milestones pass, and they say nothing. This one is quiet, and this one cuts deep. Because you remember theirs, you always remember theirs. You send the message, you make the call. Sometimes you even send the gift, carefully chosen, thoughtfully wrapped. And then your day comes, and there is silence. Maybe a brief message, 3 words, no punctuation, sent 2 days late, and you tell yourself it doesn't matter. You say, it's just a day. You say, they're busy. You say, adults don't need to make a fuss. But it does matter, not because you need the attention, but because being remembered means being seen, and being consistently forgotten by someone you consistently remember. That is not an oversight. That is a message. The Buddha taught sati, mindfulness, clear seeing, not wishful seeing, not hoping things are different than they are. Clear seeing. See this clearly. Someone who forgets you on the days that matter to you is someone who has decided, quietly and without announcement, that you do not matter enough to remember. You deserve to be remembered, not as an obligation, but as a joy. Sign number 5. When you finally say how you feel, they make it about them. This is perhaps the most painful one, because it takes courage to speak. At your age, after a lifetime of keeping the peace, choosing silence over conflict, it takes real courage to say, I feel like I am always the one reaching out. I feel like I am not important to you. And what do they say? You always do this. You're too sensitive. I've been busy. Why do you always make me feel guilty? Why? Your pain becomes their grievance. Your honesty becomes your fault. This is what the Buddha called moha, delusion, not yours, theirs. The delusion that allows a person to receive love consistently and feel no responsibility to offer it in return. The delusion that lets them hear your pain and transform it instantly into an accusation against themselves, which they then reverse back at you. You are not too sensitive. You are finally seeing clearly, and that clarity, however painful, is a gift, not a wound. Now, here is what the Buddha would not say. He would not say, cut them off. He would not say, never speak to them again. He would not say, punish them with your absence. That is not wisdom. That is just pain looking for power. What the Buddha would say is this: stop carrying the weight of a relationship on your shoulders alone. Put it down, not violently, not dramatically. Just stop calling and see what happens, because here is the truth that is both simple and devastating. If you stop being the one who always reaches out and nothing reaches back, then you will know. The relationship existed because you were holding it, not because they wanted it. And that knowledge, as hard as it is, will finally set you free from waiting by a phone that was never going to ring. Your time now is not infinite. Every year that passes at this stage of life is a gift of extraordinary weight. You have earned the right, through decades of caring, giving, showing up, to spend what remains with people who reach back, people who call you first sometimes, people who remember, people who ask, and mean it, how you are. The Buddha taught, Apamadina Sampadetha, strive on with diligence. Strive on, not in holding on to people who do not hold on to you, but in the work of finding and nurturing the connections that are real, the ones that breathe in both directions. They exist. They are waiting, and you deserve them. If this video found you today, and something in it felt true, please take a moment and subscribe, because every few days we sit together like this, and we look clearly at the things that are quietly draining your peace. And we ask, what Buddhist wisdom, across 2,500 years, has learned about letting them go? And if you are sitting with a phone right now that has been too quiet for too long, share this with someone else who needs to hear it. You are not alone in this, and you deserve more than a silence that was never really peace.